Your cat just walked up to you, lowered its head, and pressed it firmly against your face, or your hand, or your chin, or the exact center of your forehead, with a deliberateness that somehow felt less like affection and more like a statement. And you smiled. You probably said something soft and ridiculous to it. You maybe pressed back gently and felt that particular warmth that this gesture, more than almost anything else your cat does, produces in the people who receive it. Because it feels intimate. It feels chosen. It feels more than the purr or the slow blink or even the curling up beside you at night, like something directed, like your cat is doing something to you specifically, for a reason, with intention. You were right. It is. But the reason, the actual biological, deeply layered reason behind that small, deliberate press of your cat's head against yours, is something that most owners have never been told. And when you hear what is really happening in that moment, you will feel two things almost simultaneously. The first is a kind of delighted recognition. The second is something quieter, something closer to being genuinely moved. Because here's the thing, when your cat headbutts you, it is not simply being affectionate in the way a human might offer a hug. It is performing one of the most ancient, most loaded, most biologically significant acts of social bonding in the feline behavioral repertoire. And the target of that act, the being it has chosen to perform it on, is not random. It is never random. And understanding why it chose you will tell you something about your place in your cat's world that you may have spent years feeling without ever having the language to describe. Stay with me, because the layer of the story that surprises people most, the one that reframes everything, is still ahead. Let's begin with the anatomy of the gesture itself. Because there is something happening in the physical mechanics of the headbutt, researchers call it bunting, when the head specifically is involved, that most people never think to look for. Your cat's head is not a neutral object. It is, in terms of scent gland distribution, one of the most chemically loaded parts of its entire body. Concentrated along the forehead, the temples, the cheeks, the chin, and the corners of the mouth are clusters of sebaceous glands, scent-producing structures that release a complex cocktail of pheromones and organic compounds that carry more. Individual identifying information than almost any other signal your cat can produce. When your cat presses its forehead against yours, it is not simply making contact. It is depositing this chemical signature onto you, precisely, deliberately, at the exact location where its most identity-rich scent glands are concentrated. It is, in the most literal and functional sense, marking you, writing itself onto you in a language invisible to your eyes and undetectable to your nose, but completely legible to every other cat in your cat's world. You are being labeled, right now, with your cat's most personal, most chemically complex, most biologically significant identifier. And the fact that you cannot perceive the label does not make it any less real, or any less intentional, or any less loaded with meaning. But here's the thing. This is where most conversations about headbutting stop, at the territorial marking, at the idea of ownership, your cat claiming you the way it might claim a piece of furniture or a favorite sleeping spot. And that framing, while not wrong, misses something essential, something that changes the entire emotional register of the gesture. Because your furniture doesn't headbutt back. Something deeper is happening here than simple territory marking. And to understand it, we have to go somewhere that most popular explanations of this behavior never reach. In feline social groups, in the loose colonies that cats sometimes form, and in the domestic, multi-cat households that researchers have studied most carefully, bunting and headbutting occur almost exclusively between cats that share a positive, affiliative bond. Not between strangers, not between cats that merely tolerate each other. Between cats that have developed, over time and shared experience, something that behavioral researchers describe without embarrassment as friendship. The bunting between bonded cats is not one-sided, it is reciprocal. Cat A presses its head against Cat B. Cat B, if it accepts the gesture, if it leans into it rather than moving away, is simultaneously offering its own scent in return. The chemical exchange goes both directions. Both animals emerge from the interaction carrying traces of each other. Both are in the olfactory language that cats actually inhabit, marked as belonging to the same social group. This is not the behavior of a dominant animal stamping its ownership on a subordinate. It is the behavior of two beings choosing, actively and mutually, to carry each other's signature, to be identifiable in the language their world operates in as a unit, as associated, as... And this is the word that researchers increasingly use, despite its human resonance, bonded. And when your cat headbutts you and you lean into it, you are participating in this exchange. You are, in the behavioral grammar of feline social life, accepting the gesture and returning it, becoming, in that moment, not just someone your cat has marked, but someone your cat has merged identities with. someone who carries its signature and whose presence it now associates with the deepest, most affiliative feelings its social nature is capable of producing. What most owners don't realize is that by pressing back, by leaning your forehead gently into your cat's, you have been answering in the correct language all this time, without knowing it. Your instinct, your love expressing itself through the most natural gesture available, was already fluent in a language you never formally learned. And this is where it gets interesting, because the headbutt is not a single uniform gesture. It exists on a spectrum, and the specific way your cat executes it tells you something precise about the emotional state behind it, if you know how to read the differences. The lightest version, a single brief touch of the forehead that doesn't linger, is the equivalent of a greeting nod, an acknowledgement, a social check-in that says, "I see you, you are in my world, this is noted." It appears when cats pass each other in a colony, when your cat passes you on its way somewhere else, when the interaction is momentary, but the recognition is genuine. It is, in the currency of feline social exchange, a small denomination, but it is still currency, still a deliberate affiliative act directed specifically at you. The sustained headbutt, the one where your cat leans its full weight into you, holds the contact, maybe closes its eyes, sits at a completely different point on the spectrum. This is not a passing acknowledgement. This is an investment. This is your cat bringing the full weight of its body into contact with you, pressing the most scent-rich part of itself against the most accessible part of you, and staying there for longer than any functional marking behavior requires. This version is about something beyond the chemical exchange. It is about the physical experience of contact itself, about the particular, specific, apparently deeply satisfying sensation of pressing against the being it is most bonded to and feeling that being pressed back. About the neurochemical cascade that this contact produces, the oxytocin release, the cortisol reduction, the physiological shift toward calm and safety that close contact with a trusted being triggers in a cat's body the same way it triggers it in a human's. Your cat is not just marking you in those sustained moments, it is comforting itself with you, using your presence, the specific, irreplaceable physical reality of you, as a regulator of its own emotional state, as a direct route to the neurochemical experience of safety and belonging that its bonded relationships produce. Something deeper is happening here than ownership. This is need. Real, physiological, completely sincere need for the specific comfort that only your specific presence can provide. Now let's talk about where the headbutt happens, because the location your cat chooses, which part of you it targets with. The gesture is not random, and the differences in meaning between the different targets are subtle enough that most owners have never consciously registered them, but significant enough that once you know what you're looking for, you'll see the pattern immediately. When your cat headbutts your hand, particularly the back of your hand extended toward it, it is performing the most common form of bunting directed at humans. The hand is the part of you most frequently presented at cat height, most frequently extended in greeting or offering, most frequently associated in your cat's experience of you with the initiation of contact and the giving of attention. Headbutting the hand is the standard social interaction, affiliative, warm, and deeply routine in the day-to-day vocabulary of a bonded cat-human relationship. When your cat headbutts your face, particularly when it seeks out your forehead, your cheek, your chin, the area around your mouth, something different is happening. The face is not the hand. The face is not the first thing you extend in greeting. The face is the most intimate part of you, the place where your own scent glands are most concentrated, where your breath and your voice and your expressions emerge, where the most personal and identity-rich version of your chemical signature is most accessible to a creature with your cat's olfactory sensitivity. A cat that seeks out your face for headbutting is not just marking you, it is performing the most intimate version of the scent exchange available to it, seeking the place on your body that smells most completely, most densely, most personally of you, and offering the place on its body that carries its own most complete and personal signature in return. What most owners don't realize is that a cat that headbutts your face is doing something it does not do with just anyone. The face headbutt is reserved for the innermost circle, for the beings with whom the bond is deepest and the trust most complete. If your cat has ever pressed its forehead against your forehead and held it there, in that absurd, tender, slightly awkward moment of two beings touching foreheads like something out of a story, you are receiving one of the most personal gestures in its entire behavioral repertoire, directed at you, specifically, because of who you are to it. Let's go somewhere that this story leads that I want to name plainly, because it deserves to be said without hedging. Your cat chose you as the recipient of this gesture. Out of everyone in its world, out of every human it has encountered, every stranger who has tried to pet it, every person who has passed through your home, it chose you for the face headbutt, for the sustained, weight-bearing, eyes-closed press of its most personal self against yours. It did not choose randomly. It did not choose conveniently. It chose based on the accumulated evidence of every interaction you have ever had, every moment of patience and respect, and gentle presence that has built, over time, into the particular thing that exists between you. The thing that its nervous system registers as safety. The thing that its social instincts identify as its most trusted relationship. The thing that its body reaches for, automatically and without deliberation, when it wants to feel most completely itself in the world. You earn this, not with grand gestures, not with expensive food or elaborate toys or any of the things we sometimes perform in service of loving animals, with the ordinary daily reality of being someone worth trusting, someone worth marking, someone worth carrying the scent of in the most personal, most chemically significant way your cat knows how. And here is what I want you to sit with, because I think it is the most extraordinary part of this story. Your cat does not perceive you the way you perceive yourself. It does not see your bad days or your self-doubt or the internal monologue that tells you sometimes that you are not quite enough of whatever you're supposed to be. It does not read your perceived failures or your insecurities or the long, complicated relationship you have with your own worth. What it reads is what it has always read. The truth of you in the registers it actually inhabits, your warmth, your scent, your particular energy and presence, and the specific way you exist in the space you share. And from all of that, from everything it has collected and assessed and built into its most intimate knowledge of any being, it has arrived at an unambiguous conclusion. You are worth headbutting, worth marking, worth carrying, worth pressing its most personal self against and holding there and closing its eyes. In the language of cats, and it is a language that does not hedge, does not perform, does not say things it does not mean, that is a declaration. So the next time your cat comes toward you with that particular lowered head, purposeful quality of movement, when it tilts its forehead toward you with the quiet inevitability of something that has already made up its mind, receive it the way it deserves to be received. Lean in, press back. Let your foreheads rest together for the length of a breath. Let the chemical exchange happen, invisible, ancient, utterly sincere, in the small, warm space between you. Because in that moment, something is being written on you, on your cat, in a language older than words and more honest than most things language can carry. The same message it has always been writing. Every time it has found you and pressed itself against you. You are mine. I am yours. The world right now, in this exact moment, is exactly as it should be. Your cat owns you. It announced it on your forehead. It has been announcing it every single day. And now, finally, you know exactly what it means. If this story made that next headbutt feel completely different, share it with someone whose cat claims them every day without them knowing the full weight of what was being said. And if you want to keep exploring the extraordinary hidden language of cats, stay right here. There will always be more to discover.